There we go.
Welcome officially to the Senior Concerns Seminar Series. We're very excited to talk with you today about how to create a dementia-friendly home. I'm Martha Shapiro, and I'm the Director of Programs at Senior Concerns. I think most of you are familiar with us, but if not, our programs include our Meals on Wheels program, our adult daycare program, senior advocacy services, pro bono legal and financial concerns, an in-home geriatric assessment program, as well as our Caregiver Resource Center. So we welcome you today, and I am the Director of Programs here, so I oversee all of those direct care services. I'm a social worker. I've been working in the field of older adult services for, I guess, 15 years or so. And this presentation is something, this is our first time presenting it, that Hannah and I developed just out of working with family caregivers and kind of hearing about what challenges people were having at home and looking at some of the tips and tricks that we use in setting up our adult daycare and how you can use those at home. So we're very excited to talk about this today. There's a good amount of content, so we can make the slides available to you. And we'd also love to hear feedback and if there's other areas that you would like us to cover in future seminars. So I'm going to go ahead and let Hannah introduce herself, and then we'll get started.
All right, hello, I am Hannah Hoffman. I am a social worker, and as the care manager here at Senior Concerns, I work solely with family caregivers. I do facilitate support groups and do care consults. So please reach out to me if you have any caregiver questions, any caregiving needs. My whole job is to work with caregivers, and I really enjoy it. And so I look forward to working with you. We can go ahead and get started.
Thank you. So we're talking today about how to create a dementia-friendly home. So I just wanted to mention, make sure we're on the same page about what is dementia. And this umbrella graphic I really like because we often talk about dementia as the umbrella term for those symptoms that we see, which is when there's loss of memory and other thinking abilities that's severe enough to interfere with your daily life. That's the umbrella term, and it's a collection of symptoms. The specific diagnosis is what you see on the right side. I think it would be the right side at home with the raindrops. And Alzheimer's disease is the most common type of dementia. It makes up about 70% of all dementias. Second to that would be vascular dementia, which is when there's a restriction of blood flow, which we typically think of as a cause of effect of having a stroke. Lewy body, frontotemporal, and there's some other types as well that are less common. So I just like this as kind of a basic little snapshot of what we're talking about when we talk about someone with dementia. Could be any of these types of dementia. And dementia-friendly home is when your home environment includes dementia-friendly design, which is really meant to reduce your loved one's risk of falling, sort of aid their memory process, and prompt enough to give them as much freedom as possible in the environment. So a truly good design can help your loved one thrive. So this is what we're looking at, is what are the components of being dementia friendly at home. So ideally, it's an environment that reduces stress and promotes independence. Always a focus on safety. We're going to talk a lot about safety today. Keeping someone at home in familiar surroundings can be really beneficial to them if we can set it up right for their safety. It allows easy access and wayfinding. And if you aren't familiar with that term, wayfinding, you're going to be very familiar with it after today. It supports meaningful task and participation in activities. We really want to encourage the best quality of life possible. So why do we have to do all these special things? Well, because we know that a lot of changes happen when somebody has some type of dementia. Changes are happening in the brain, and that affects sort of everything. So there's vision changes that happen, Depth perception is reduced. It can be very difficult to decipher differences in colors. Peripheral vision shortens as well. It's easier for someone to lose their way. I'm sure you're all familiar with that. It even changes the way that sound is perceived. Noises that might be in the background to someone with dementia might appear just as loud as somebody that's directly in front of them. So reducing distraction becomes even more important. And we also see people, not just with dementia, but in general, start to shuffle their feet, which increases their fall risk. So looking at the vision changes, lighting is very important. They say that you should use twice the light that you would normally use for someone with dementia to make sure that they have the best ability to see what's around them. You also want to increase the use of daylight as much as possible. It's very common for people with dementia to lose track of what time of day it is. So using those natural cues of sunlight can be really beneficial. I think getting people outside into natural light every day can help as well. It really helps increase the circadian rhythm in the day and help them sleep better at night. Looking at falls. Falls is, we are going to spend some time talking about this because it's such a huge concern. We know that 1 out of every 4 people over the age of 65 fall every year, but only half of them are talking to their healthcare providers about it. Some of you may have read in the Acorn, our own president had a fall recently. And she shared about that experience. And ever since she shared it publicly, so many people are telling her about their own experiences with falls. I think there's, some shame around it. So they're not going back and reporting it or just assuming that it's a one-time thing. But the truth is that falls are the leading cause of fatal injury in older adults and the most common cause of non-fatal trauma-related hospital admissions. So it is a huge issue that we need to address. The statistics say every half hour an older adult dies as the result of a fall, and we know most of them occur at home. So we're going to really focus on fall prevention. Managing the risk of falls is a normal part of aging. There are changes to our vision, our gait, our depth perception. So we have to manage that risk. But you don't have to actually fall. There's plenty we can do to prevent it. Am I taking? Oh, I'm still going. So you can exercise to improve your balance and strength. And there are some amazing evidence-based fall prevention classes out there. There's Matter of Balance, Tai Chi for better movement. There's even a Walk with Ease class. There's a lot of options out there to help you with this. Always review medications with your doctor or pharmacist. Medication issues can cause dizziness and falls very often. So you always want to be reviewing that. Make sure you're getting your vision checked regularly. Vision changes as we age are very common. So we need to make sure that our glasses are up to date, our prescriptions, and whatever else is needed. And then we're going to talk a lot today about how to make your home safer. It's very common for people to get low blood pressure when they stand up and to feel dizzy. So making sure that you really talk with your doctor and understand what's going on with you so that you can accommodate it. So if you are somebody who stands up and gets dizzy, then you need to take a moment before you stand up. Sit upright with your feet on the ground, stand up slowly, and then stand still for a few seconds to make sure that you're settled before you start walking.
All right. Floors.
This is one that's huge because there's often so many trip hazards that people don't sort of realize in the home that they've been living in for so long. So try to imagine going into your home as a visitor and walk through. years ago, I did a home visit and there was a gentleman who was falling often. That was one of the reasons I was there. And I was welcomed into the living room where I sat on the couch. Well, to get up from the couch, there was a very large coffee table in front of it and not a lot of space. I had to sort of maneuver around the coffee table. So I reflected back to the family that it appeared this coffee table could be a trip hazard. They assured me they had lived there for 30 years with this coffee table. And so it was just their natural way to step around it. They were so used to it, that wasn't causing the problem. And the husband wasn't falling in the living room. Well, after some time visiting this family, I saw what was happening was the husband was getting up from the couch and the side of his leg was hitting the edge of the coffee table, knocking him off balance. But he wasn't falling on top of the coffee table. That would be very obvious. Instead, it was just knocking him enough off balance that he would stumble into the kitchen and then fall. So they weren't aware of it because they were so used to their home, but that coffee table was really in the way. So try to look at things with fresh eyes or have somebody else do a walkthrough for you. Throw rugs can be a real trip hazard. Make sure that they're really secured down so that you can't catch your foot on it and trip. Make sure that the floor is free of clutter. And that includes, wires. You might need to rearrange some things if they're in the path of where you walk through. Including stairs and steps in the home, make sure that everything is up to date, that there's no rug that sort of buckles on the stair. Make sure that there's proper lighting. And a lot of times people only have a light switch at either the top or the bottom. You might need to add one so that you can turn the light on no matter where you are. Or if there's handrails, make sure that they're secure, or even add handrails if there aren't. And color contrast is really huge because the depth perception will start to fade. And so if the top of the stair is the same color as the ground floor, like the step, a lot of people won't be able to differentiate where that step begins. Even if they know there's a stair there, they might step awkwardly and cause a fall. So a really simple solution is to just go buy a bright colored duct tape. They make them in every color now, and put a strip anywhere in the home that the level changes. So at the top of the stairs, the bottom of the stairs, if you have any sort of step down, that can just make a huge difference. And then looking at the kitchen and where things are situated, you might have had things on higher shelves, and now because it might be harder to reach up, you might want to consider rearranging items so that things that you use most often are lower. And if you are rearranging, then you might want to label the cabinet. Label either, depending on your loved one's ability to understand words, you can put the word of what's inside, cups, or a picture of a cup. I don't really like using step stools at all, but if you do need to, use a proper step stool. Don't get on a chair. That's my important message. And bedrooms. Okay, this is all about lighting. Think about if you have to get up in the middle of the night to use the restroom, what are you going to do? Is there a light near the bed? Do you have enough lighting to get you to the bathroom? Do you have night lights in? Is your water close by? Anything that you're going to need to reach for? And what does that path look like? If there's two people sleeping in the bed and one of them uses the bathroom all night long, but they're on the side that has to go around, the corner and past the chair, you might want to consider rearranging things so that there's a nice, clear, easy path to the bathroom at night.
All right, now bathrooms. So in the bedroom, just as a side note, consider using a cane. If you have difficulty standing up, use the cane just to get to the restroom to avoid falls in the evenings. But for the bathroom, using a colorful toilet seat, Martha had talked a little bit about using a high contrast in colors. With that difficulty in seeing with vision, it is very helpful to have a different colored toilet seat so that you know where to sit, and then also to reduce urine spray. Also having a raised toilet seat in the bathroom to help with sitting up and standing up and sitting down, and then adding a target inside the toilet as well to reduce any spray. Labeling the faucets hot and cold to prevent burns. For fall prevention, grab bars in the shower, grab bars around the toilet, in front of the toilet. And then just as a side note, do not hold on to towel bars as a form of grab bar. If you see your loved one or you going to continuously use that towel bar, maybe consider taking it down and putting a grab bar there. And to help with wayfinding, which we will talk about in just a minute, putting a picture of a toilet on the bathroom door. And then as well as wearing Depends if you're worried about rushing for an accident from the bedroom to the bathroom, just so there's no urgency. So at Senior Concerns, we have bathroom signs just to make it easy to find the restroom. Our bathroom signs have the toilet on it. You can simply print out a picture of a toilet. Understandable though, not the most aesthetically pleasing, I understand. So just as a way to help people find their restroom, here's a picture at my house of on the left hand, the door on the left is a bedroom and the door right ahead is the bathroom. And to help find the bathroom, simply keeping on the right hand side, simply keeping the bedroom door closed and the bathroom door open, so it's easy to just walk straight in there. Here is just an example of the target I was talking about in the toilet, and then of that contrast, the high contrast in colors. Typically they'll come in red, black, or blue is what I've seen. And then we've talked about falls. I highly suggest getting a home safety assessment by an outside person. These home safety assessments can be done, ordered by a physician and done through a home health agency. Ventura County Area Agency on Aging does have a fall prevention program. They have classes and they'll even do an assessment in the home. And then here at Senior Concerns, we do a geriatric assessment program. It is a little more comprehensive. It includes a safety assessment, but we also talk about care needs and options. We do evidence-based assessments, talk about nutrition, safety. It's really a whole look, and we discuss future options. So please reach out if you are interested in that. So wayfinding, Martha mentioned that a little bit. Wayfinding, the definition is what people see, what they think about, and what they do when finding their way from one place to another. As an example, when I go to somebody's house to complete an assessment, I go to their street, and one thing I try to find the house. How do I look for the house? I am going to be looking for the address number, and that's going to be my first point of how to find the house. So I look at the address number. I might look below the mailbox. Oftentimes it's worn off. So the next place I'm going to look to find the house is going to be the numbers either right next to the garage or near the front door. So I find the house and I need to get in the front door. Usually there's some stairs leading up, so I can find that front door. I get into the house and I might ask, can I use your restroom? Many times I look and somebody can just point me right in the direction and say, there's the restroom. And they might have to say, go to the third door on your right. And so I say that because that's me navigating a new person's house. And people with dementia have difficulty with wayfinding, and this is going to even be within their own home. Even a place that is familiar to them oftentimes becomes unfamiliar. Wayfinding problems are one of the earliest signs of Alzheimer's disease and affect over half of the individuals with Alzheimer's. These you want to determine the meaningful decision points, which would be, where is the restroom? How do we find? We really want to help people move more independently, particularly within their own home. So a way to assist with wayfinding would be a picture of a bed on a bedroom door. You really want to, again, use those high contrasting colors. And then a statue or another object at a decision point. And I'll show you what that looks like here at Senior Concerns. So this is our front desk at Senior Concerns. And you walk in, and many of you know the lovely Adriana. Adriana is our professional wayfinder. She helps people find their way throughout our facility. But let's say Adriana weren't there, and I had to explain to somebody how to get from point A to point B. So I'd walk through our double doors, I see the front desk, and I would tell somebody, walk through the door on your left that has the American flag next to it. So that flag is gonna be a decision point and help somebody get through those doors. Through the center door, I would say, go through the door that has the clock above it. So you really wanna give someone that point of reference to go through an area to help people move more independently. Another option to differentiate where places are in the house is, here is a nondescript door at Senior Concerns. Typically, I don't want anyone going in this office. It's a private office. But let's say I wanted someone to go there, and I didn't want to put a picture of a bed on there or whatnot. I might put decorations on there. So I chose fall decorations, and I put them on the door. So this might help someone go through the door that has the red leaves on it. So that might help navigate the area. We've talked a little bit about wayfinding. Next, I want to talk about wandering. Wandering is traveling aimlessly from place to place. This is very common even in the beginning stages of dementia. There's going to be some triggers from wandering, such as purses or keys out on the table, any change in routine, a change in medication, somebody left alone, or even being in an unfamiliar environment. And as we talked about, even the home can be an unfamiliar environment. So if wandering occurs, you really want to track the behavior, look for the trigger, talk to somebody else about what happened during the day, what happened leading up to the event of wandering. And so to avoid wandering, there's a few things we can do. So making sure that basic needs are met. This is thirst, hunger, fear, boredom, temperature, bathroom. So especially with going to the bathroom, somebody might stand up to go to the bathroom, but they don't remember that they had to go to the bathroom. So you see them kind of wandering around, walking around. This happens in the day program pretty often. And a simple redirection of, do you need to use the restroom, might suffice. If they're not sure what they're looking for, redirecting with food and drink. I know a lot of us, like me, are very food motivated. So just simply offering, would you like a drink? Here's a drink, and we can have you sit down right over here. Adding exercise to the daily routine is really helpful with this. It gets some of those, some of that energy out, and it really helps calm us. Providing stimulation. Something interactive, such as going through a family album and looking at grandchildren, looking at past trips is another good idea. Or providing a small task, such as folding laundry. Sometimes here at Senior Concerns, we have people fold paper for us, and we actually reuse that paper as scrap paper. And so I saw someone doing it the other day, and it keeps people occupied and gives them that purpose in that moment. A routine is very important, and Martha will talk about a routine and writing a schedule on a board next to a clock. So we can't always avoid people wandering. It's going to happen. So we really want to mitigate the risks surrounding it. So some ways we want to control the exits would be child-proof door handles. Rearranging a room. So somebody might have a favorite chair, and this chair is looking directly at the front door. And so maybe just rearranging that room could avoid some of that wandering, or some of that that door would be a trigger. Getting rid of those triggers, like we said, keys in the drawer. If so, we're alerted of wandering, door alarms, and a Ring doorbell is helpful as well. So there's some, you can add in chimes. So every time a door opens in the home, you're aware of it. I camouflage the door, which I'll show you in just a moment. And then a tracker. A tracker is always helpful. They have small ones now. Apple makes some that you can put onto a shoelace. You can put in somebody's pocket, in their wallet. Some people are really good about keeping their phones on them. A phone can be used as well. But ideally, it would be a tracker you could put on somebody. Here is an example of a camouflage door. This is what we use in the day program at Senior Concerns. It really works wonders. It is a bookshelf. It looks like a bookshelf, and I have yet to see somebody go and try to open the door. And then another idea for that is putting a curtain in front of the door. Just a curtain can, camouflage that door. And then now one of the things with wandering is providing stimulation, avoiding boredom. So Martha's going to talk a little bit about battling boredom.
And I wanted to mention about, where the chair faces. At Senior Concerns, when we used to use the front dining room for our adult day program, and the windows go right out into the parking lot. And so if we had somebody who was always looking for, when their person was going to be pulling up to get them, they might look out and not see their loved one's car, but think they do. Every car that pulls in, they're like, oh, that's my ride. So a simple change of just rearranging which seat was their seat so that their back was to the window makes a huge difference. So sometimes we just overlook when there's really some solutions that are not difficult. Hannah, if you don't mind, I realized I don't think you referenced the black and white photo with the door and the leaves. And I personally learned this from you and thought it was so interesting that the reason that Hannah put this in black and white is because if you're wondering if there is enough color contrast, a trick is to take a photo and then put it into black and white, because it's really obvious where those leaves are. So they're red in real life, but you can see that color contrast is really clear. So that can be a useful tool when you're looking at things in your house. I would kind of challenge you to go take a photo in your bathroom looking at the toilet and then put it into black and white and see how it looks to you. So thank you for going backwards.
Thank you.
So back to battling boredom, because boredom can be sometimes the impetus for all sorts of difficult behaviors or exit-seeking behaviors. And so I just wanted to give some ideas of ways to keep somebody entertained. And one thing too to think about is, what was their regular routine? We had somebody years ago who, every afternoon was wandering out of the house. Well, wandering is not aimless. I think that the term can be sort of a misnomer. It's not aimless for people with dementia. There is a purpose. We just don't know what that purpose is. And this person would leave the house every day around the same time and get very frustrated. And when we really talked it through, this person would, was a school teacher. And that was the natural time of day that their day ended and they changed their routine. Or somebody who's going out to the bus stop to pick up their kids. Typically, people are used to a certain routine to their day. And so if that changes, their sort of natural biological clock doesn't always recognize that. So also staying on top of that, if you're noticing a pattern, there's probably a reason behind it. And so in that particular case, they started planning an activity every day around that time so that it made sense, so that they would say, okay, time to go, and get them up, and the person was ready to go, and they would just go take a drive or go get ice cream. And it really calmed them down because it felt normal to them. But here are some other simple activities that you can do at home. When a lot of times when people come and join our day program, we will ask, what do you typically do at home? And most of the time, there's not a great answer. It's usually not much, maybe watch TV, maybe read a newspaper. And so I think that because a lot of the old activities may no longer be something they can participate in, we aren't necessarily always looking for new activities, or might think that they're too menial for the person. But you'd be surprised, just folding and organizing laundry, how that can keep somebody really busy and engaged in an activity. Even if they don't fold it right and you have to redo it later, if it keeps them busy and feeling productive, then I think there's a real benefit. We do sorting here, sorting with different objects into either size or color. That's very beneficial and therapeutic. Puzzles, just making sure that you find one that's at the right level for your person. Coloring. Every day we do this day in history here, and we talk about it, and it brings up memories for people. Just picking flowers, sorting silverware, brushing your pet's fur, and singing along. I mean, music is just such a wonderful way to engage somebody. So playing a song from their past, something that brings up a nice memory, can really change somebody's mood. And then on the next slide, and I can send the slides around if people would like, there's a lot of online activity options, especially since the pandemic. These have really increased in availability. The Alzheimer's Foundation of America does wonderful free activities that are geared for people that have dementia. They have, online exercise programs and entertaining type programs. So you should really check out their website. And then there's all these virtual field trips you can do through museums or enjoying online concerts. So I really just encourage you to see what's out there and what would be something that your loved one would enjoy, or maybe that you could enjoy together. Scheduling is important. I think consistency is key. We have to be flexible, of course, but I really find if anyone shows any type of anxiety, having some type of schedule that they can count on will really benefit them. So I recommend posting a daily schedule so that your loved one knows what to expect. If they can still tell time, then you can include the time of day on the schedule. 12 o'clock lunch, 1 o'clock taking a walk, whatever it is for you. And then you can actually do something that we work on where if they're repeatedly asking you what's next, you take them to the calendar and show them rather than answering for them. And if you do this enough times consistently, they will recognize that. And next time, instead of asking, they'll walk over themselves to look at the calendar. So if there is a repeated question, putting an answer in the environment and training to go to that answer can make a big difference. Along with that, we talk about posting signs and cues around the house. And, Hannah certainly talked a lot about that. By prompting the environment, you're actually promoting independence. So as much as it might feel silly, it's actually providing that person a better sense of independence if the answer is in the environment. So put up a sign to remind them to wash their hands, label the doors if needed. The more that you prompt the environment, the less that you will personally have to remind and direct them. So these are just photos I've taken around senior concerns. The please wash your hands with an actual photo of what we're asking them to do. Those are in all of our bathrooms here. The calendar, that's what we post. I took that this week. That's what we post every day with the basic calendar, so people know the key different activity changes that will happen in the day. That clock we purchased here to put in our rooms. It is a very clear, easy to read clock, and I just purchased it off of Amazon. And then just the please connect the puzzle pieces. We have a lot of those signs, prompting people with the activities that are available to them at all times.
And you can see the signs do have, the blue and white signs have a pretty good contrast in colors. And then mealtime.
Yes, and just like with contrasting colors, before you go on, you know, at Senior Concerns, we always wore typical badges that have the logo of Senior Concerns with our name and our title. But when we learn, you know, more, that would be very difficult for somebody to decipher. So now anyone who works in the day program has this badge. It is contrasting colors, very simple, first name only, and it's very clear that that's my name on the badge. I just wanted to mention that.
Thank you. So now mealtime. You might find that your loved one has a reduced appetite or little interest in meals. It could be loss of appetite, and there could be some other factors going on here. Talking a little bit more about contrasting colors, contrasting colored plates and non-skid placemats, just to make it easier to scoop up food. This is more on color contrast. If the food is similar color to the plate, the person with dementia might not be able to see it. So let's say you have a white plate and you're serving mashed potatoes. So somebody even with just vision issues is going to have difficulty getting that food onto a spoon. Patterns and flower designs can make it difficult to differentiate food from design. And then clear the table from clutter and extra items at mealtime. And something important is to actually eat with your loved one so they can mimic your behavior and remember those social cues. So it might be that they still know how to use a fork, they just might have a difficulty putting those pieces together. So simply watching you might be a good cue. Consider using a plate or bowl that has a higher lip. I'll show you that in just a minute. You want to make food easier to get onto a fork. And if needed, switch to finger foods that can be easily picked up. We've seen that here in the center where switching from food with a fork to a sandwich can really make all the difference in getting somebody to eat their full meal. So here's some examples. One is that high contrasting color using a blue plate on a red placemat. That's some good contrast. And then on the right is pictures of the bowls that have the lips around them to make it easier to scoop and get items. And maybe even considering, if you're finding somebody's having difficulty using a fork, maybe consider only using spoons in those situations. And then as a focus on safety. Safety, we keep talking about that through this seminar. Your loved one might not have the ability to be safe with dangerous items like they were before. We want to prepare ahead of time for this risk. So keeping locked and out of reach, guns and weapons, knives and other sharp utensils, medications, cleaning products that are toxic, including dishwasher pods and Tide pods, tools, even ladders, especially if you have a loved one who likes to get on the roof. I've heard of this before, people getting on roofs. So I highly suggest you put the ladders as well in a safe location, whether it's actually locking it up or taking it out of the garage and putting it elsewhere.
I'm going to just reference some of the questions for a second before I continue. Can you recommend a website for puzzles by ability? Not specifically, no. I would say more just, the number of puzzle pieces is kind of what you're looking at. I will say a website I find very useful is called it's alzstore.org. Wait, is it .org or .com? I have to look it up.
It's .org. I don't have that.
I find it very useful because it's all geared for people with Alzheimer's and dementia, and they have different categories you can click on. That's actually where I screenshotted a few things from. And so you can kind of look around and get ideas for things. So they do have activities and puzzles on there as well, because sometimes if you look in like the kids section, it might look like a kid's puzzle, and you don't want to that either. You don't want to infantilize your loved one. You want one that looks appropriate and nice, but that has larger pieces. It's alzstore.com. It's not an organization, it's a website. And then you can cost compare once you find the item that you want across other websites. The whiteboard, I believe we ordered on Amazon. I just ordered another one. They have all types of sizes, even those large classroom sizes. I love a whiteboard. I think they're so useful. Get that going as soon as possible as you can with your loved ones so that they know, what to look at. They also, Target will have them, sometimes not as large as you want, or the office supply stores where they sell more items for classrooms. And we will definitely send around a copy of the presentation if that would be beneficial. And it's also being recorded so anybody can go back and view it. And then I don't have a menu that I can share. That could be another great presentation that we could design with our dietitian here. But things that we do here for people really is sandwiches. We pre-chop the food so that it's easier for them to scoop. There are larger silverware that's weighted that can be easier for someone to manage. And we do cheese sticks, Nutri-Grain bars, things like that they can hold in their hand. Child-proof lock for cabinets, there's so many out there. It depends on what you have. We have some really simple ones that we use in our bathrooms here that I think we just got off of Amazon. So you just look around and kind of see what works for you. But that goes right, it leads right into this slide about securing important items. Anything you don't want to lose, we recommend securing it. It's just that simple. It is, I know, frustrating sometimes because this is your home and it's hard to think of having to lock things up, but it's always better to be proactive and have things set up to cause you much less stress down the road. So keys, that's like a really important one, because if your loved one is not driving anymore, then don't have the keys by the front door on that hook or wherever you keep them, because it will encourage them to take the keys and go drive. It doesn't really matter if they don't have a license if they have the keys. So find a different place to store the keys. Money, wallet, important papers and documents. I always encourage, you might need to get a locked filing cabinet. And if your loved one is used to handling the paperwork and they're going to go in and mess it all up, then let them have a cabinet. Still keep a filing cabinet that's open, that has inconsequential papers. Take the junk mail and give it to your loved one to go sort in their filing cabinet. But keep yourself the locked filing cabinet that has the items that you don't want to lose. Oh, I'm not changing. I forgot I'm not in charge. And this is our sort of, but what else? We tried to sort of think through the home environment, but also we can't get into every possible item in this presentation. So the idea is that there are lots of challenges that might arise that we may or may not have addressed here today, but there's also lots of possible remedies. It doesn't mean there's always an easy solution, but there's lots of things that you can try. So we just encourage you that if you do find something that's causing you stress, then call us. And that's what we do here. And let us help kind of talk through the issue and brainstorm with you ways to reduce that stress. It might not be perfect, but anything we can do to try to help the situation is beneficial to everybody involved. I also really recommend joining a caregiver support group if you aren't already involved in one, because that's also a great place to throw out your challenge and let the group workshop it, because these are people that are doing it every day and have some really amazing solutions that you might not have thought of. We had a woman once who came to the group, and her mother had fallen in the bathroom, but she realized that because of where the bathroom was in the hallway, the door opened into the bathroom instead of out. So she couldn't open the door because her mother was stuck behind the door. So she came to the group and said, you know, we finally got her out, but now what do I do with this door? Because I guess it doesn't fit the other way. So the group kind of brainstormed, and she ended up buying one of those accordion doors that goes side to side. So you just never know unless you ask what people are going to come up with.
So it looks like we have one more question came in. What kind of help is available to seniors without a good support system and no services in the home?
You know, that's always a struggle. I really, really recommend that you call us and identify who that person is. If the person has some dementia and lives alone, there is a program through the county. What's the name of the program, Hannah? Do you remember?
It's the adult, I can't remember it.
It's through our
ABRC.
county's Area Agency on Aging, and it's where they can assign a case manager to work with someone who's living alone who has some dementia, to kind of help them set all of this up, or determine if that being at home is not going to be safe or plausible for them. So that's kind of the first go-to if somebody doesn't have a good support system. But if there's somebody that we can talk to, or if the individual themselves is capable of having that discussion and making their own decisions, then we can help them think through what their options are now and also in the future.
Yeah, especially if with a little more specifics, we can maybe see what else is available in the community for them, whether it's through veteran services or through the county.
Yes. So this is your chance. If there's any other questions for us right now, please go ahead and type them into the chat. And otherwise, what we'll do is tomorrow we will email you a copy of the presentation, and then we'll get the video recorded up on our website. Good, please call us next week. And if anything else comes up, or you do want to talk through your individual situation, you have our contact information here, and we are always available to you. If there's no other questions, I did want to mention our next upcoming seminars. The last one for 2022, gosh, I had to think of what year it was, will be on Thursday, November 17th at 3 o'clock. And it will be presented by Katie Wiltfong, who's a local social worker. And she's talking about how to have end-of-life conversations, sort of what needs to be talked about, how to have those discussions with your loved one to have a plan in place. And then in January, Elsa, our senior advocate, and myself will be presenting over Zoom our Dealing with Dementia workshop. And that is a 2-day, 4-hour class for anyone caring for a loved one with dementia. It comes with a big book that has a ton of really important information in it. And we do use we talk a lot about this stuff and just kind of everything that you might need to deal with as well. That one the sign up will be on our website soon, but it's not there yet. And that one has a fee of $50 because it comes with the book. Yeah, so in the question that came through was looking at modifications to the home to prevent falls. And on one of the slides, we referenced a pamphlet from I think the California Department of Aging. So we can attach that when we also send the slides, because that has a really nice list of things that you can look for in your home. Okay, well, with that, Hannah, anything else?
No, thank you so much. I'm happy to see all the faces here today, or the names. I can see the names. It's good to see you all. And please, like I said, reach out with any caregiving questions or needs. We have a few support groups that we facilitate here, and I'd love to have you be a part of them. So thank you.
Thank you, everybody, and have a wonderful evening.